Serpentza has been exposed once again. Is this the video that will finally put an end to Serpentza's YouTube career? Find out soon. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. So this video is brought to you today by night. Because when you're having an awful day living and working in that Orwellian nightmare of a country, you at least want to have a good night. And these nights are good. But if a good night isn't your thing, then we have the next best thing. You know that pair of Converse that you always wanted? Well, isn't the name Converse a little bit of a mouthful? Wouldn't it be much better if we renamed them Fashion DBNYZZ, Off-Watt for 80, Off-Watt, 600G, Zoonfly, 600G, Zebeaverton, Oregon, Beavertoe C2018. Wow, what a name. And our final sponsor of the day is that wonderful company that has absolutely nothing to do with the Chinese Communist Party. That's right. It's Teemu. And let's take a look at what they're trying to sell us this time. Wow, we've got Breath of the Wild that looks awfully a lot like Tears of the Kingdom. Seriously, they used footage from one game and the box of another? This is how crap Teemu is, and I would never ever buy anything from that awful company, and you shouldn't either. So anyway, Serpentza exposed, eh? Like we haven't seen this before. And seriously, this is nothing new, and I've actually spoken about this in a previous video. But to put it simply, if a new foreign YouTuber in China wants to get noticed by the Chinese Communist Party loving audience, then they usually make a video to expose Serpentza. And I'm pretty sure you all know who Serpentza is, but just in case you've all been living under a rock, he's a YouTuber who lived in China for a long time. And during his stay in China, he started a successful YouTube channel. While he was in China, Serpentza's videos contributed to a better understanding of China for viewers outside the country. His content, while often critical of certain aspects, also highlighted the complexity and diversity of Chinese society. In 2019, Serpentza left China and moved to the USA. Among his reasons were concerns about personal safety and, of course, the ever-growing anxiety about the Chinese Communist Party becoming even more authoritarian than they already were. Since living in America, his videos have become way more political because he can actually make these videos without worrying about getting disappeared forever and thrown in a concentration camp. Now obviously some people who live in China aren't really going to appreciate the videos that he makes, because sometimes the truth hurts. There are some foreigners who live and work in China who have been compromised by the propaganda of the CCP. Either that, or they've got a good thing going on in China and don't want it to be ruined by the likes of Serpentza. How anybody can think that what the Chinese government says and does is okay completely baffles me. But anyway, these guys do exist, and if you're one of those compromised foreigners, then it's kind of a rite of passage to make a video and to prove to us once and for all that they know more about China than Serpentza. Just including Serpentza's channel name in a video title will get you the views, and criticizing him will really appeal to the nationalist audience that aren't supposed to be watching YouTube anyway because it's banned by the Chinese government. Even I'm hoping to get a few views just based on putting Serpentza's name in my video title and thumbnail. And hopefully I will. Anyway, I've said enough. Let's hear what this guy has to say. And it's time to see the video that once and for all exposes Serpentza for not telling the whole truth about China. Because there aren't already a million other videos on YouTube attempting to do the same thing, right?
This guy does nothing but make negative videos about China.
Okay, so Serpentza doesn't make negative videos about China. He makes negative videos about the CCP and some terrible aspects of Chinese culture brought about by the terrible government there. The Chinese people and the government are not the same thing. It would be exactly the same as saying, you hate the French government, so that means you must hate the French people. It doesn't make sense.
A lot of the stuff that he says are things that happened 10, 12, 15 years ago.
So a lot of things that he talks about are things that happened 10, 12 or 15 years ago. Well, straight away, that doesn't make sense, does it? Which one is it? Is it 10 years ago? Is it 12 years ago? Or is it 15 years ago? There's quite a bit of difference in those years. He only left China in 2019. And I think for everybody who doesn't know maths like I do, that was only 4 years ago. So how can it be 10, 12, 15 years ago? Anyway, apart from that, how come most of his recent videos contain recent footage from China about things that are happening there right now? You see, you can find all sorts of videos on the internet about China because in the USA and other free countries, the internet is not heavily censored like it is in China.
If you're watching his videos, just take what he says with a grain of salt, okay? Because yes, some of the things he says, I will admit, some of those things are true, like they have happened in China, and maybe some of them do still happen, but not as many as what he really says.
So do these things happen or not? If the things do happen like he said they do, then what's the problem with criticizing them? Should we just ignore every problem that we see or hear about? If we have a big channel on YouTube and are a voice that people listen to and respect, then wouldn't it make sense to address these problems instead of just ignoring them? And maybe, just maybe, something could be done about these problems. I know that if I wanted to go to China in 2023, I would want to know about all of the things that happened there, including the negative things. And what better source of information than somebody who lived there and experienced it firsthand?
And it's not nearly as bad as what he says it is. China has drastically improved over the last 10 to 15 years. Right now, the China today is very different than the China he talks about. So, if you watch his videos, just take it with a grain of salt.
You serious?
The old China has changed bullshit that I hear all the time. China today is a lot different than the China he talked about. Is it though? It seems that China has gotten a little bit different since he left because it's got a whole lot worse. These guys always say that Serpentza is no longer relevant because he's been out of China for a long time. But has the Chinese government actually changed since Serpentza left? Well, maybe more of them have died or disappeared, but for all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same government, and the same crazy dictator is in power, calling all of the shots. No, the CCP hasn't changed, and as long as their propaganda is being pushed to an international audience, we need more people out there putting videos on YouTube to counter that propaganda.
Because he's profiting off of making anti-China videos. That's how he makes money. So he's got to continually keep coming up with stories and things to show people in order to earn money. And he's showing things that may have happened 10 or 15 years ago.
No, he isn't profiting off of making videos, is he? Well, yeah, I mean, isn't that the idea of doing YouTube, right? I mean, he doesn't just keep coming up with these random stories because he wants to profit off of them. These things actually happen. China is the gift that just keeps on giving. How about the Chinese government just stops making these stupid ass propaganda videos? Or how about some things in China change so we don't get these ridiculous videos coming out of China, and then maybe he'll stop making videos about them. And he does show things that are relevant to today's China. I love it how this guy gives absolutely zero examples. If you're going to make a point, then at least have proof about the point you're trying to make.
The stuff that he talks about today's China are all speculative things that he gets from Western media.
Western media. Oh dear. I hate it when these guys say Western media, as if to say that Western media is this single entity just like Chinese state media. It's bullshit, because there's quite a lot of media that criticizes China, and this media is not from the West. Just look at Taiwan as an example.
But he's not here on the ground himself because he's not allowed to come into China. Keep this in mind. This guy got banned from China. So if someone is banned from a place, do you think that they might have some kind of ulterior motive? That they might just want to say bad things about this place because they're not allowed to come here?
Actually, Serpentza did not get banned from China. He left on his own free will. Is he banned from going back to China? Probably not. But if I were him, I definitely wouldn't want to risk going back there, because they probably won't let him leave. Kind of like the whole Two Michaels situation. Little bit of hostage diplomacy going on there.
So if this guy wasn't getting the amount of money he's getting off of making anti-China videos, he would be trying like hell to get back in China, because that dude's from South Africa and his country's even worse than China.
Even worse than China? Is he implying that China is bad here? That was a bit of a mistake there, huh?
And also, while we're at it, he's living in America now, and he's not reporting things on America.
Why on earth would Serpentza report things about America? His channel is about China and always has been. Just imagine if for the next Star Wars film, they decided to throw all of that sci-fi shit out of the window and change it into a western set in the 1800s, and instead of Luke Skywalker, we get Luke Horse Rider. Obviously, they know their audience, and they wouldn't do that. And the same applies for Serpentza on YouTube. He knows that people watch his videos because they want to watch content about China. They don't want to hear about all of the problems around the world. They can find that on so many other channels. Why on earth would he make videos about things that are not even related to his channel?
Look at this. The summit coming up in a few days. Chinese President Xi Jinping is going to America. And America has to clean up the streets of drug addicts and homeless people and gangbangers and robbers. They have to clean all that shit up because San Francisco is going to be full of foreign media groups, and they can't have this mess for the whole foreign media to see.
Yeah, it's right. They did clean up San Francisco when she arrived there, and guess what? It was reported in the media.
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true.
It's not like they were trying to hide it or anything. Unlike in China, where they hide anything negative and pretend that poverty has been completely eradicated. Honestly though, the only shit or poo that I think needs cleaning up in San Francisco is that massive turd that's visiting there right now. You know the kind of poo I'm talking about, the Winnie variety.
Every country does these sort of things. Every country has these kind of problems. You know, back when Beijing did the Olympic Games, you know, there's a huge pollution problem. They built this stadium and cleared up all the pollution and all this other stuff to hold the games, right? America's guilty of this too.
If every country has these problems, then why can't we talk about them? I mean, holy shit, there are so many videos talking about America's problem, so why can't there be a lot of videos talking about China's problems? The thing is, The Chinese government censors the crap out of their version of the internet, and they completely control the narrative. Moreover, they're trying their best to control the narrative on the rest of the world's uncensored version of the internet. And guys like this one, the guy who made this video, are helping them to succeed. They are pushing the propaganda of the Chinese Communist Party, and they're probably not even aware of it. People like myself and Serpentza are here to counter that bullshit propaganda and offer our unfiltered and uncensored opinions about the Chinese government, and hopefully more people will wake up and see just how awful the CCP really is. So anyway, that's enough of this guy. Here's my advice. Take every video you see of his with a grain of salt.
Just take what he says with a grain of salt, okay? Just take it with a grain of salt. Take that with a grain of salt.
Because they could be full of shit. And just keep that in mind.
Keep this in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.